Hi, everyone. Thanks for checking out my talk, Governance and Greenlights, leveraging the three Ps to standardize trust, scale, and usability in voice agent web integration. As you can see from my speaker and company bio slide, my name is Patricia, and I'm the principal at Leap Trace Consulting, an IT consulting firm that provides digital solutions that are accessible, affordable, and adaptable. There's definitely not going to be enough time to deep dive into all the content I presented for this deck. So if you like what you see in here and want to learn more about how the firm can optimize and redefine your business, ping me and we can set up a chat. My next slide states that the goal of this talk is to educate and inform and establish a defined and robust methodology to deliver the technical clarity needed for developers, standards bodies, and regulators to align and move the web voice agent ecosystem towards secure, trusted, scalable adoption. More specifically, we'll cover the three main factors influencing adoption: trust, usability, and scalability. These factors are vital because without trust, you won't use the system or believe the outputs it shows you. Without usability, you can't or won't use the system. And without scalability, you won't be able to grow the system to couple with various user needs, and it will be brittle. We'll review what makes a Lean Six Sigma mindset and how to apply that mentality to builds. Finally, we'll chat about how to manage the entire ecosystem from a 3P perspective that addresses IT program, project, and product management. The stakeholder categories for a voice platform standard slide lists 6 major categories of users who would use voice agents. Each stakeholder category has their respective requirements. For example, vulnerable populations would prioritize privacy controls, whereas platform ecosystem providers would prioritize interoperability controls. The next set of slides will show you the breakdown of the factors influencing web voice ecosystem from a people, process, and tech perspective, with key influences, associated behaviors, and why they're important. For example, usability needs to be baked into the system via engagement, design, and data storage. In this way, users can interact with the system and train it to engage in feedback loops, customize it for localization, and have their data be contextualized via use case and form factor. In my next slide, I describe how trust is baked in via perception, transparency, and data transparency. Having a more anthropomorphic user experience builds repeat interactions, which creates a positive feedback loop where more data of varying sensitivity can be ingested and taxonomized. In my next slide, I describe how scale is baked in via implementing stakeholder guardrails that align security, content, privacy with end-to-end responsibilities, supporting reliability engineering via caching visualization, and creating a standardized technical architecture on which to onboard vendors. Of course, all these requirements need to be secured from a cybersecurity lens, where the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of assets is taken into account, which I list out on my slide. In order to maintain secure usability for web adoption of voice agents, there needs to be clearly defined rules on how the data will be kept confidential, protect against data integrity violations, and be accessible to all populations. Given the localization requirements of voice data, surveillance is a security layer worth accounting for. To maintain trust and transparency within the system, rules for data sharing confidentiality should be disclosed to all stakeholders. System integrity, expressed via observability and messaging, would provide cybersecurity measures. Maintaining confidentiality when cybersecuring scalability is a factor presents an interesting paradox, because how does one address the required disclosure of vendors in order to maintain trust while maintaining confidentiality of data handling requirements? Certainly a unique balancing act for engineers, and this challenge question also influences ways in which to secure integrity and availability. As I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, trust is a major factor that drives the adoption of systems and should be baked into web standards. In order to do that, we need to understand the tenets of the existing trust models. Zero Trust Framework emphasizes security at the end user and device level. Those hardware and software details will definitely be influenced by voice agent stakeholder requirements. My next slide shows the factors influencing cyber resilience models. Cyber resilience refers to the nature in which a system is able to resume trusted, reliable, and valid operations after an attack. The perspectives of an organization and how it is governed, regulated, and in compliance will impact what components of a voice agent resume healthy operations after an attack. The RT architecture will determine how quickly the system is restored, and the usability flows will determine what aspects will get used. So far, we talked about how qualitative terms for how to build in standards that support required web agent, voice agent adoption factors. But how are we going to track this? How do we quantify this? That's where this Lean Six Sigma perspective comes into. designing and building for the web. As defined on this slide, Lean Six Sigma is a collection of business improvement processes based on organizational processes and statistical techniques, where the goal is to reduce variation and eliminate waste. So how does that come into play when we think about how to standardize trust, scale, and usability factors in voice agent web integration? I listed some useful techniques on this Lean Six Sigma primer slide here. For example, to gather data on how to design for trust standards, practitioners can engage in voice of customer techniques, conducting usability tests and gathering surveys. To understand how to standardize the scale factor, consider using the approach DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, for improving existing platforms, or DMADV, define, measure, analyze, design, verify, to create brand new platforms. To gather data on usability on voice agent web integration, practitioners can create a house of quality matrix that maps user desires to engineering requirements. The other aspect of Lean Six Sigma are the characteristic metrics tied to specific critical to quality buckets. On this slide, we see 4 buckets that impact web standards: process efficiency, design consistency, technical quality, and business impact. This slide lists key metrics for each bucket to track for actual improvements. For example, process efficiency can be determined by page loading time, broken links, etc. Technical quality can be determined by number of refactoring development tickets and by percentage of coding standards used. Design consistency can be determined by core web vitals, loading speed, responsiveness, and visual stability. Business impact can be determined by customer satisfaction score or net promoter score. So now that we've laid out the landscape for web standards for voice agent web integration with an emphasis on trust, scale, and usability, how do we manage this architecture? We do this by using the 3 Ps that organize the system entities and properties in this mind map that I've made on the next slide. My mind map slide shows a framework for managing layered socio-technical architecture. The backbone is grounded in governance, regulation, compliance, and international standards organization parameters. This ensures that all standards are done with universal ethics in mind. The system is further organized by the lens of cybersecurity, AI engineering, and scalability to ensure that the controls are robust, reliable, automated, and support interoperability. I've applied the standard risk management framework of mitigating, avoiding, transferring, accepting risks to the web standard 3 adoption factors, but overlaid them with cross-sectional layers of people, process, and tech to delineate how the risk will be addressed. The 3 Ps of IT management are expressed as a governance layer where all development activities and system properties will be handled based on being a functionality, work increment, or socio-technical intent of the system. In conclusion, as we move to the final slide that lists my contact information, I'd like to thank you all for listening and learning with me. Happy to follow up offline with any questions or comments regarding any of the research, development, design, or management comments that I've made. Thank you.